Welcome to the Retire Young podcast, the podcast where we talk about the financial markets, how they work, and different ways that you can upgrade your lifestyle. And today I have a special guest with me today, Scott Maragioglio, with me, professional at everything, but we'll just call him a phenomenal stock trader. How are you doing today, Scott?
Great. How you doing?
I'm doing really good. And as we get into this show here today, we talk a lot about what's happening in these financial markets and ways you can upgrade that lifestyle, but people just don't know where to start, especially in the financial markets. Tell me a little about what's happening in these financial markets right now with all the stuff that's going on. We got, politics, and we have different things with different countries going on. How are you, helping people, especially at Online Trading Academy, learn the skills of trading and investing to upgrade that lifestyle?
Well, what we're teaching them at the Academy is how to engage safely with the capital markets, how to trade different asset classes in a safe and more predictable fashion, how to protect risk, how to size, how to target correctly, and the mechanics and really the physics of how trading works.
Sure. Now, with you mentioned something. You said multiple asset classes because everybody knows the stock market. I mean, you're a master of that industry, right? Mm-hmm. Explain some of those other asset classes that are out there that people have access to that a lot of people haven't heard about.
Yeah, most people are very familiar with trading stocks or equities. Mm-hmm. Some of the other asset classes that they may engage in are futures, options, Forex would be very common. So these are all leverage asset classes, really powerful asset classes to amplify what you're doing. So once you're trained and you know how to trade, using things like options to amplify what you're doing can make a huge difference in your performance.
Yeah, when you say amplify, I mean, because in the stock market, you kind of need a lot of money to be able to generate money. You're talking about leverage, right?
Yes.
Explain what that leverage is, because people are sometimes afraid of that. I mean, people actually use that in their everyday life, but they don't think that's a good thing in trading and investing. Explain what that leverage is and how you can utilize that.
Well, I mean, leverage is just a common, useful tool in finance, period. So even if you get a mortgage and you put $10,000 down on a house or $20,000 down on a house to buy a house, that's leverage. Mm-hmm. That's no different than getting a mortgage on a house. But when you're trading, the leverage asset classes allow you to take a small amount of money and amplify what you're doing. Now, you want to be trained in how to trade. The last thing you want to do is amplify something that's, when you don't know what you're doing. So you want to be able to know what you're doing.
You got to have that skill.
You got to have the skill first. And then once you have the skill, these are products that will help you amplify that, where you can put up a smaller amount of money and control a much larger amount of money. Futures, you may put up something like, $3,000 to control an S&P contract, which is more than $100,000 worth of capital. Mm-hmm. You may be able to put on a stock position using options where you can use a very small amount of money to control the exact same scenarios if you put a lot of cash up to own the stock itself.
Sure.
Or Forex, you can trade, you use leverage in the U.S. up to 50 to 1.
Yeah.
And you're going to use that in Forex.
Yeah, just using small amounts of money. You mentioned, kind of brought up a little subject about almost like the psychology of, you have to learn the skill.
Yes.
And we had a pretty good conversation about the psychology of trading and how, some of the things people go through. There's some pitfalls when people are learning on their own, but how are you helping people overcome any pitfalls they could have to be successful? Because you're here in Minneapolis teaching a core strategy class, right?
Yes.
How are you helping them be comfortable and confident, utilizing these markets?
The best way is first to get somebody to really understand the mechanics of trading, how it works. And one of the things I try to make people understand is, like, there's a science to this. There's a science to trading. Like, there's a science to anything. Whatever field you're in, there's a science to it. So and when you approach it in a more professional manner, you're approaching the markets. You're approaching like a technician or like a mechanic, mechanically.
Yeah.
How does it work? What are the physics of how this works? And once somebody understands how that works and they've got a framework to wrap their mind around, then you show them the tools that we're going to use so that they can engage and approach these asset classes and these markets safely in a way
and that's key.
Right. So in a way that you can engage in it and you're risking small amounts of money to make larger amounts of money. And there's a whole science and a physics to it that you want to wrap that around.
Yeah.
And once they get that, it all seems very approachable.
Sure, and a lot of people they're shying away from the markets. And it's not, you're saying it's a science, but it's not rocket science. You just haven't been taught yet. It's just a skill you have to learn how to do. Right.
That's right, and that's something I can commonly say in class. Like, this is not that difficult. It's just once you get it, you get it, and it's not very complicated. But there are rules of the road, and you have to understand the rules of the road. If you don't understand the rules of the road, you don't understand where the bumpers are, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Just like any profession, too.
Just like any profession. It's totally normal.
And anybody can learn this. It's just, you just need a couple characteristics. You need to be coachable, right?
Yep.
You have to have the, learn the skill, but you just have to have a confidence, and all you have to do is push the button. Yeah. It's all electronic. You don't have to call your broker like it used to be. You probably did that in the past, right?
Oh, yeah. I love when I tell people how much they used to charge to do a trade. I mean, when...
What was the largest commission that you have paid?
Percentage-wise?
In the past, like if there was a...
Look, when I started in the business, I started when I was 21 years old. I'm 52 now, so it's 30 years ago.
Okay. I was going to say, what was that, 5 years ago or something?
No. So that a round-trip commission was 5%.
Oh, wow.
So think about that in the terms... Now we're doing round trips.
So if you're doing a large account, that's a big commission.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you're throwing around a decent-sized trade, there was some dollar amounts attached to it. So it obviously wasn't direct access, and there was a lot of inefficiency. Now, I mean, it was just ridiculous what it was. Now it's direct access. It's really cheap. I mean, you can do trades for zero commission now.
Yeah.
So it's a whole different thing than it used to be.
Yeah, it's all electronic.
Yep.
And, you're here in Minneapolis teaching this class, and you're from Florida, right?
Yes.
How do you like the snow?
That was an eye-opener.
You're originally from somewhere else, though, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm from New England. So I grew up in New England.
Have you had the Minneapolis cold before?
No, and that was the thing. Like, right now, it's actually not too bad. It's in the 30s. But I was, the day I showed up, it was actually...
You barely got here.
Barely. But it was really cold. And, I learned the value of a hat.
Yeah, especially us guys. I mean, I don't have much insulation up here.
No, I'm the same.
You're actually a little better than I am, but
we're about the same. Yeah, there's not a lot keeping you warm up there. It felt like somebody had an ice pick going through my forehead. I was like, I need a hat.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming on the Brady Tire Round podcast today, and every time you're in the city here, hopefully we can get you back on. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And thanks for coming on.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah.